Now, this is a very rare occasion that I'm probably the happiest out of the three of us after the weekend. I'm not massively happy, but probably happier than you two. Welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. Premier League roundup show. We've got 4 Premier League games to get through. We're also going to do a couple of the FA Cup games for good measure, talk a little bit about the Nottingham Forest point deduction and a little bit more chucked in there as well. You two haven't been together for a while, so Josh and Sean, good to have you both back together. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Sean, you right, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Not bad, not bad.
Good. Oh, that's good. Lawrence is joining us. Josh's granddad as well. I hope you are well. Right, we will start. We've got 4 Premier League games to get through, so we will start at Turf Moor. Burnley 2, Brentford 1. And the way I've configured this, unfortunately, Sean, you've got to talk about this.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen the foul yet, but Reguilon sent off on 11 minutes, was he not?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that, well, this game on paper, it just looked like a championship game to me, to be honest. It had shocker written all over it. We spoke about Burnley in depth. We spoke about Brentford. Quite a lot that they've been very poor. I don't think they've... I'd be interested to know. Well, there aren't many Brentford fans around, really, is there? But it'd be interesting to know the last time Brentford actually put on a good performance. I think Ivan Toney, again, did another interview the other day talking about his next club.
It's making himself look an idiot, isn't it?
I don't know if that's... I don't know if that's hanging over the club a bit as well, but then the club go in, put a post out, bigging him up as well. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But they've looked dreadful. Like I said, I haven't seen the foul, but I've seen he was sent off very early. Did it end 2-1 in the end, am I right thinking?
2-1, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the... there's a bit of chaos leading to the Brentford goal as well. Well, Burnley are going to grab it with both hands. You know what I mean? If a player of a fellow relegation rival going to get sent off after 10 minutes, then fair play to them. They took advantage of it because I wouldn't have had money on them taking advantage of it personally. I could have seen that fizzing out a draw, even 10 versus 11. But yeah, obviously we'll get on to the points deduction in a minute, but that's closed it all back up again. And I think Everton are probably due another deduction soon, so that'll close it all up again. I know we've wrote the teams down there off quite a lot, but it could end up being very interesting for various reasons.
Yeah,
you might see a team or two stay up who probably don't deserve to stay up. You just
exactly. You know,
you
this
just
is
don't know.
This is the situation we're in now. That point selection's massively helped Brentford, who now find themselves 5 points above the relegation zone. We're going to talk about Luton Nottingham Forest game in a second, and then we'll go on to the Forest point selection. But of course, that has I wouldn't say bolstered Burnley's chances, but look, if Everton get another points deduction, you never know if Burnley put off a few results, they might stay up. Look, it's going to be an interesting climax to the season. Burnley will take the 3 points, absolutely. Brentford, they're struggling. I don't think they'll go down this year, but I think next year, if they continue like this without Tony, which he's pretty much telling everybody that he's leaving, I think they're going to massively struggle unless they...
with Tony, though, Jake, sorry, but with Tony, would you want him at your club?
No.
He might... Like, he's just... I would... You can see the upset dressing room.
Yeah.
He just screamed... Well, he screams Arsenal to me. But,
Let's bring in Josh here. Josh, he came back, Tony, and they did this sort of like, was it like WWE sort of like bringing him back and like a video and welcome back, Ivan Toney. And ever since then, all he's done is talk about interviews, how he's going to move away in the summer. Do you think it's actually hindered them and the dressing room? Just a word on Brentford, Josh.
Yeah, and to be honest, he was doing that before his ban anyway. Yeah. He's always, like and posts from other fans, telling them to join the club on social media and stuff like that, doing interviews. He's always been at it. He does seem like the type of person to upset the dressing room. And when you look at a lot of his goals, penalties and free kicks, I don't even think he's scored that many since he's come back. I know he scored in his first one back against Nottingham Forest, that free kick. Since then, I don't remember him scoring too many. So now I think the disrespect he's shown to Brentford is it's a bit much. He just seems to be doing an interview every week, really. And yeah, I definitely think it's had an effect on Brentford. Last season, they looked energetic, they were high on intensity. this season. And it's harsh, and I've said it before, because we sort of had the three best players taken off them, with Rico Henry getting ACL, David Raya losing to Arsenal, and then Tony missing half the season. But I don't think Tony coming back has helped them much at all, to be honest. And I think the price that teams are willing to pay for him, I just think he is a bit overrated and far too disrespectful to the club he's already at.
Yeah, absolutely. We find ourselves in a relegation battle where, once again, for consecutive seasons, there's probably 5 or 6 sides that you could make a case for to why they probably should go down. Brentford, Everton, Luton, Forest, Burnley, Sheffield United are all sides that probably in the past, if they were placed in different seasons, I know it's ifs and buts and whatever, but they're all sides that you could see going down if the teams right at the rock bottom weren't as bad. If it would have been a bit more evenly contested there, Brentford will be right banging it now. I mean, if you just look at Brentford, who's really at the top of the relegation sort of zone there, they've got 26 points from 29. It's really, really poor. And look, yeah, you can make a case for all of them down there. But look, we'll come on next, actually, to the points deduction and all the rest of it, because that is now Luton 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Let's tackle with the game first. I was at Wincanton, so I didn't see the game, but we just caught the last bit of it on the radio, just when Luton scored at the death. I got the sense, Josh, that this was like Luton needed to win just for a bit of confidence, because they hadn't really picked up too many points. They were playing well and losing by the odd goal here and there. This seemed like a really big opportunity. They've got Arsenal and Spurs coming up quite soon as well. Look, they'll take a point because of the position they were in with 10 minutes to go, but it just seems like a bit of an opportunity missed for Luton. Listen, I want Luton to stay up. It just feels like an opportunity for them missed.
Yeah, I don't know if this is right, but I don't think they've won a game since that Brighton game where they won 4-0, which feels like ages ago.
It does,
I think the first point in a while was the one that they got at Crystal Palace last week. Yeah. And they should have really lost that. I think Palace had more than enough chances to kill the game in that one and didn't take them, and they got a scrappy one at the end. Obviously, throwing a 3-0 lead away in the week as well to Bournemouth, which are just... after that,
absolute suicide.
They deserve to go down now for that, to be honest. But no, they have, when they play a lot of the big teams, they definitely give it a go. They've been losing marginally. When they played us, they just about lost. We got quite lucky at the end with the late goal, and they've gone toe-to-toe with a few big sides, took points off Liverpool, and went close with Man City and Arsenal. So yeah, they give it a go, but they seem to be petering out a bit. I didn't watch the game, but I was listening to it on the radio, and it sounded like Forest were in control of the game for most of it. They actually said Forest, they didn't look like conceding. About 30 seconds later, Luton had scored from a set piece on TalkSport. So Chris Wood as well, back in the team, back amongst the goals. On the fantasy football, I'd done my free hit this week. There's four games, and that didn't exactly pay off, because I had Reguilón in -3. The only one that got me points was in this game. Gibbs White with 6 points. Sells as well, blew me clean sheet at the end, which I was quite frustrated about. But now, as for Luton, they've got some tough games. I think it's Spurs away next. You've just said they've still got to play Arsenal, so it's not going to be easy for them. But you never know with all these sides getting point deductions now. As for the point deduction on Forest, honestly, I've just come to the conclusion that the Premier League just spin a wheel to decide the punishment for the FFP.
Sounds about right.
I don't know what's going on, really. I'm pretty sure Everton only went £20 million over, and Forest have went over more than £20 million over. That's not including the Johnson sale, because that was after the deadline, and that was Forest's defence in the court case. But the Premier League said no, that was after the deadline. So if going off that, they've gone more over than what Everton went. But yet they've had less points taken off them. So, and in the Everton court hearing, they also said that no matter how much you go over FFP, the least they can punish you with 6 points. So I don't quite know what's going on there, to be honest. It's just a bit mad. Obviously, there's still a point deduction looming over Everton as well. So I just think if Everton get 10 and Forest get 4, it's just, I don't know what's going on, to be honest. But it's just a bit silly as well. I'm probably not going to know. Teams aren't going to know where they stand until after the season's finished. Everton's obviously still going on. We don't know when that's going to be announced. Needless to do, they'll probably appeal it, and they've got to wait for the appeal to go through, and that'll go into after the season. So you could have Luton thinking they've stayed up on the last game, but then, like, I don't know, Everton or Forest get some points back by the end. It's just mad. I think they should have it all done with 10 games to go, so every team knows where they stand. But it's not like that. It's just, honestly, I don't know what's going on anymore. It's corrupt, really.
It's crazy, is what it is. Just to touch on this, that Luton, I do hope they stay up. And of course, these point selections, which we're going to discuss in a second in more detail, you just don't know. Now, look, I don't want to be a little bit ironic and mention handball, but, we were quite lucky against them towards the back end in their first home game, and we just scraped through the victory there. They've gone close with some big sides and just have been a little bit unlucky in that sense. Now, Josh has given us a bit of a dissection there of the points deduction. I've just seen it today. I haven't read too much into it. Sean, over to you, because I'm sure you know a lot more about it than I do. 4 points. Then again, are they going to do what Everton did and appeal it and it gets knocked down or knocked up? Or
I'm sure I read that Everton got more. Sorry, go on.
34 million Forest went over, and I think Everton went over about 20 million. Go on, Sean.
I'm sure I read that, because it looks strange, like how many they went over, and it doesn't tally up with the points. But I'm sure I read that Everton got a bit more because they basically tried to cover it up. That's what I read. They gave false information. They didn't give the information they asked for. That's why they got extra points deducted. But as far as I know, there's no sort of. It's almost like they pluck it out of the hat. I don't think there's any guide that we can go on. No. But I think that is what I've read today. That's why Everton got more, because Forest are more transparent. They work with the Premier League better, closer, provide all the documentation. That's why I read that they've got less. If they appeal it or not, I'm not sure. I know they've done a statement in the last couple of hours. I haven't got a clue what that said, to be honest. It's just never a mess, isn't it? And in the last couple of weeks, haven't they announced they're going to rejig the rules for it as well again?
Exactly. I think there'd be a little bit more respect and transparency if they released a document or released a guide and say, look, if you go 20 million over, we're going to dock you so many points. You go 30 million over, we're going to dock you so many points. And, Josh said it's like they're spinning the wheel. You've just said they're like, they're plucking it out of a hat. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous, and this is team status in the Premier League. And for saying that it might go on past the final day of the season is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. There should be a law that says you can't take points off of teams once the season is done. When the season is done, when that final whistle is blown, it should be done, right? Nothing else. What's done is done. Get it done before, for goodness sake. Just it can't be that difficult to go through all these documents, go right and just analyze it and go, look, they've done this, so let's give them so many points off, whatever. It just seems so bizarre, and you hear, Everton hold up the corrupt things, and it's difficult to not understand it when they're just doing this, and it's just there, and there's no guide, there's no sort of, you've just got to take whatever it is. And with obviously Man City's a whole different story in terms of theirs. It just seems very, very wrong, Sean.
Yeah, the Man City thing, I know a lot of fans, especially for the big clubs, drag them up. I haven't quite got to the bottom of that. I think that's just more, they've got the whole team of lawyers just dragging it on.
Yeah.
And a lot of that isn't, it's not as straightforward with them either, because it's not just overspending, and they've like manufactured fake sponsorship deals, and
it's about where they've got their money from as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like they since they've done that, you can only, I don't know the figures, but you're only allowed to a certain amount of sponsorship going in as well. Now, I think theirs is also dodgy payments right back to when Mancini was in charge. So we're going back a while with them, and it's sort of spread out. So it's very, very messy. I don't know how that will come to a head, to be quite honest. Also, Leicester, they're in trouble as well if they get promoted. I think there's already been announced if they come up, they will be docked points, but if they stay down, they won't. So I don't know. It's like, yet again, it's like the Premier League have tried to do the right thing, and I think this is probably positive for the long term, but again, just made a bit of a hash of it.
Yeah. Oh, they are. Yeah.
Like, it's almost like they need to be a bit of a headmaster. Like, a player's in line to buy a player, but you can't buy it, so they don't buy it. Try and stop it before it happens. Exactly. Don't just, because then it's just costing money and hassle, and then it makes our league look more of a joke. Do you know what I mean? Surely the league can work together with these teams. Like, some teams can spend at 500 million nearly, mentioning no names, and other ones probably have got a sell to buy in the summer. But so
that's a good point. Why can't, because the Premier League have got to check off every transfer and look through the documentation and all the rest of it. I know it's not as easy as just a couple of numbers and working it out, but if they're spending too much money and it's not going to balance the profit and sustainability and FFP and whatever it is, if it's not looking right, surely the Premier League should go, right, you can't do that, Josh. And look, listen, there's Everton allegiance in your family. If this was my club, I'd be absolutely fuming. I'd be absolutely livid with this looming over your head and in limbo, not knowing what's going on. It's an absolute shambles. Josh just ran things off for this.
Yeah, I just think financial fair play in general, I just think it should be scrapped. It's just not fit for purpose anymore. I think when they introduced it in, like, when was it, 2014, it's probably the right thing to do. You know, when the transfer market's obviously not the same as it is now, and I think they've done it in Europe as well, and it was working. And just basically the transfer market now, it's just ridiculous. Any half decent English player probably costing you at least 80 million nowadays. So the fact that if you're making £105 million loss, and then you're punished, it's just ridiculous. Like, Newcastle, they're already in trouble. They never even spent that much. They're not doing what Man City were when they got their oil money. They were signing all superstars left, right and centre. Newcastle, they never really signed any superstars. They never spent that much in the first few windows. But they've been punished straight away. Man City a few years ago, they weren't. It's just completely not fit for purpose anymore. And yeah, I can see why Everton fans are livid. I don't think they'd be too unhappy if they were just taking off, I don't know, 4 points for the £20 million breach, and then Forest are taking off 4 points, and then them 6 teams who tried to break away from the league, they had 6 points taken off them. And then Man City, when their court case eventually finishes, they get relegated. If they do get found guilty of 100 breaches, then that would probably be fair enough, because, you know, at the end of the day, they have gone over, so there should be some punishments. It just, there's teams who've done worse and haven't been punished, which is why they're angry. But yeah, it's definitely corrupt in my opinion. They just sort of make the rules up as they go along now, and yeah, I'll give up with it.
Jay, can I just make one point about FFP? And it's nothing to do with the bans and all the fines and that. Something I strongly agree with, financial fair play, and some people think it always favours the big six and all that. The main reason I favour the big six is because they're the clubs that generate the most money as clubs. Okay, so the part of the financial fair plays I agree with. This is kind of why it's brought in, because we had Abramovich coming in, abusing the situation first of all, then the Man City owner come in, abuse the situation, just chucking their pocket money out. And that, I get, that is wrong. I know it's hard for not necessarily massive lesser clubs. I look at like West Ham and Villa, for example. Okay, if you want to start spending more money, you've got to try and generate more money. And if you look at, but I'm just an example, it's probably not a deal that's even possible, but you rent your stadium at West Ham, okay? You probably won't ever be able to buy it, but maybe try and start to buy it. Maybe try and renegotiate a deal so you get them profits from the food and drink in the stadium. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. Maybe try and buy a land off the government around the stadium. So I don't know, you could build a hotel. Do you see where I'm coming from? Yeah. These are the little things that, like Villa's I love Villa Park. It's a very old traditional stadium where they might not be able to do too much with it. I don't know what they make on a match day, but this is what the big clubs are very good at doing. This Radcliffe that's coming at United, I've seen like graphs of where he's Man United own all this land on the river. He's going to try and develop it. That's basically copying what Man City have done and what Tottenham have done. If clubs want to catch up, it's probably the only route they can go. For some clubs, it's impossible. For the likes of a Villa, biggest club in the Midlands, and West Ham, who are based in London, if you get the right sort of business minds behind it, you can improve the revenue because you've got the support base there. You probably get a bit of land. But then obviously they like same problem in my club. You're always wondering if your owners is going to do quite enough. Like at West Ham, are your owners really that bothered about generating more money to push on, or are they happy just paying the few million a year to rent off the Tory party? Do you know what I mean? So it's tough, but you've got to try and generate the money, and it's not just going to come from shirt sales in the Middle East. So from that perspective, you need some good business minds at the clubs. It suits the clubs with good business sense at the top to build it. And this is why Newcastle was struggling, because these people have come in, and I still believe now they probably weren't too clued up on financial fair play. They probably come in and thought they could do a Man City and just throw 300 million at it. What they didn't realise was Mike Ashley actually spent quite a lot of money a couple of seasons before he sold it, and they weren't allowed to spend any for nearly 18 months. Exactly. So I think they come in and bought it on the cheap. I think it was very cheap, but they paid for it.
Yeah.
Naively. But yeah, so financial fair play, it's got the right idea, but it's just, and it's the same reason why the likes of the big clubs like Barcelona and Real Madrid, they're hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds in debt, but they're currently spending hundreds and hundreds of millions developing super stadiums, which they're doing it because it will generate more money.
No, it's true, and for football clubs, obviously Man United have got the Man United, and they're always going to make, they're always going to make that money, and for clubs like West Ham and Villa, there could be things done, and we could, and you just reeled off examples there. There's things we could do to generate more money, which then balances it out a bit more to then spend more. But anyway, we talk about that all night. We will move on. Good evening, Sean, Josh, and the other bloke. Well, thank you very much, Dad. Not too bad. You've got to remember Everton didn't have a match this weekend, so I am better. Fair enough. Brentford are sliding down the league. Absolutely. Ronnie, our resident Spurs fan, even everyone, don't talk about the Fulham game. We're coming on to that next. So Ronnie, Sean, get ready. Michael, evening. Hope you are well. Ronnie, yeah, I saw the Spurs fans ironically going, oh, God, that's West Ham. Honestly, yeah, whatever. Michael says they were deducted 6 points but got 2 back. For being honest, Everton hid their losses, so maybe the transparency there, I'm not entirely sure. The FA said Forest assisted openly, but does that matter? Who knows? Our judge on appeal said the minimum for a breach should be 6 points. How did Forest only get 4? Who knows? Who knows at this point? This is a good point. Les says this is a finance thing. Surely it should be fines, not points, which is taken from your performances. Now, the reason why I think they do it on points is that's a bigger deterrent than a fine, because these trillionaire owners can just, if they give them a £2 million fine, that's like a fiver to these owners. So they just pay it off and go, you know what, be done with it. Points actually, alert them. Go on,
Jake. I think Leslie, someone new. I don't think I've seen this person comment before. The major point to make there as well. Another reason they brought this in, we're still seeing football clubs going bust left, right, and centre now. We got Reading, who are a Premier League club for about 5 seasons on the spin, are ready to go to the dogs. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So this is also brought in to protect the clubs. So what are you going to? So they go over. What are you going to give them a 500 grand fine? Like something pathetic. You'd have to fine them something like 10 million. So then that just chucks them back under. So no, points are the right thing, and it probably is the only deterrent. I know in the past, totally off topic, like when fans had violence in the stadiums, they've said deduct them points. That might be the only deterrent. And at the end of the day, whether it's fans fighting, fans being racist, fans doing like this Man United fans been caught doing this weekend, whether it's breaking the financial rules, the only thing that hurts owners, footballers, fans all alike is a points deduction. They all suffer from that. So absolutely. I think it is correct. It's the right thing to do.
No, I agree. Josh, you wanted to say something there?
I was just saying, when the Big Six started to break away from the league, they only give them a fine. It was £20 million each, which is sort of just pocket money to them, really. Yeah. Which is why I just think a point deduction is probably a lot more sort of fit for purpose. But yeah, it's still, I think that punishment that they got for trying to break away from the league, I still think isn't right. But anyway,
yeah. Right, let's move on, shall we? Because otherwise we will be here all night, and Sean's got Love Island to watch or something. Or you watching Big Brother, Sean?
I'm watching The Gentleman on Netflix at the moment. It's that new series, the Guy Ritchie one. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but
it's sort of an English sort of gangster. It's quite good, actually. Really good.
Very good, jolly good. Something that wasn't very good. Fulham 3, Spurs 0. I had this on in the background. I was watching it sort of as it was unfolding, and I had a scroll through the Spurs land of Twitter earlier, just for a laugh, and there's many sort of starting to grow a little bit frustrated with the straight and narrow of what Ange is trying to do. And look, we've mentioned this towards the start of the season. The Chelsea game was a perfect example of this, where he just wouldn't budge from what he wanted to do, and it cost Spurs in some games around that period. And I'm going to be totally honest. I laughed when he made I think he made 2 changes when it was like 2 or 3-0, and I went, that's something Moyes does. He waits till they score another goal and then makes the subs. Sean, over to you.
Oh, I could go loads of different angles of this. I'm trying to ignore as much of football Twitter as I can. Of all clubs, because I've read quite a lot of your club's posts as well, the last couple of days, Jake, as well. It's gone a bit mental. What hasn't helped, this might sound utterly ridiculous, it was a year to the day since Antonio Conte come out and did that statement about the club not having ambition.
Yeah.
So that stirred up the anti-Levy brigade, and it was like, last week, obviously, they're buzzing. Brilliant performance against Villa. This week, so I try to ignore all the Twitter rubbish, because a lot of people I chat with try and have a bit of sense and see the bigger picture. But I was focused on the game as much as I can. For starters, Fulham are a great side at home this season. You witnessed that. Was it 5-0? They've beat Arsenal at home as well, I think. Drawn with Arsenal as well. They're a good side at home. Very good side at home. And we cover Fulham every week, and I say they're one of them sides. They'll go and beat Man City 3-0, or they'll lose to Brentford 4-0. They're just one of them sides. So the result, football fans get carried away after we beat Villa. Team fans get the next 10 games up. How many points here and all this? You try and make up a list. It's always going to be tough away to Craven Cottage. On the game itself, basically, we were quite flat, if I'm being honest. We lacked a lot of bite. Our midfield, we lost the central midfield battle. But what a lot of fans are ignoring is we probably could have been 1-2-3-0 up before they scored. We had at least 2 sitters. Brennan Johnson, bit of a worm burner about 10 yards out. Maddison put one wide for about 12 yards along the floor. Son blazed one over inside the box. I mean, you always hit it. So we had these really, really, really good chances. They scored a goal, which is almost a carbon copy of what Wolves scored against us in a couple of weeks ago at home when they beat us. So that is my concern with the system. We got you in a couple of weeks, Jake. I'll tell you, because a lot of teams will counter us. And without Van der Ven, maybe we're a little bit more open to it as well. The ball that Villa didn't try this ball once last week, but actually they might have done a couple of times, but it didn't catch us out. The ball that a lot of teams look for, especially when they're trying to counter us, our fullbacks are forward and narrow. So they look for that diagonal long ball. So it cuts out the first centre-back, and it almost goes beyond both centre-backs into this gap where, say, you'd have Udogie left-back and the left centre-back. With Udogie gone, it leaves one-on-one, and if it's a long enough ball, it's one-on-one near the edge of the box. Now, I think Wolves scored at least once doing that the other week. Fulham did it with the first goal the other day. It's a common tactic they look for, and I would not be surprised to see it more and more. As for the subs, we just didn't get going after 1-0. I thought, like I said, we probably should have been ahead in the first half. Then it went 2-0 pretty quick. And I get the frustration with Ange, but he keeps coming out and saying his target's not 4th or 5th this season. His target's to build a team next season to get higher than that. So no managers get a guaranteed 6 months, 2 years, but he is just banging that drum, and he does mix it up, because we've had many epic second half performances. We've been flat first half, second half, different team. Didn't happen this game, and that's just how it is, really. I'll be honest with you. When the second went in, I'd have liked to see a sub or two then, because I think they scored 3 goals in this Well, he scored 2 goals in the space of 11 minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that, unlike our usual games, I said we've been brilliant in the second half, they probably looked the better coming out after half time. I would have liked to see that change in the first 10 minutes. I'm not sure who. There's not many players. I don't think any player really had a good game. So I'm not going to pick out anyone in particular. I was thinking earlier with Angie's intense training, his style. I do think maybe now they sort of got used to him and his style and his training. Whether right around now we'd probably benefit from more games. Do you know? The beginning of the season, all Spurs have got no Europe. They could do all right. After a while, you can only train so much. You know what I mean? And if you're ready to go, we've nearly got a fully fit squad. Now the bench looked pretty impressive. We just looked really flat, almost like we need a bit more match practice to get at. Like last week, we were really good. If you have another game in between, you just go from one game to the next now. If you're waiting 6, 7, 8 games, even today, we've had a game against Man City cancelled because they're in the FA Cup semi-final. We've still got to rearrange Chelsea. It just doesn't. With the intense sort of style we're playing, I just don't feel like maybe playing enough games. And that, it means, I think you struggle to stay right at the top of your ability. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you play, then you're back training for 5 days, and then it just gives you that little time to just drop back off. I don't know. That's my latest theory on it anyway. But it's only one game. Like I said, we probably should have been ahead. I just got to give Fulham. Not many Spurs fans are giving Fulham much credit for it. I think they've got the 7th or 8th best home record in the league. They took off a lot of points against some good sides at home this year. I don't think anyone's gone there and really turned them over. They're a good home side, so I give them a lot of credit. But we were flat, to be honest. I'm just concerned about that flatness. What's causing it? Because when it's unexpected, I like to think there's a reason for it. Do you know what I mean? We're not leggy, we're not tired. So why did we have a little drop off? I just wonder if it's just lack of match sharpness.
Yeah, Fulham are a really strange side. They can be crap for 3 weeks, and then once a month they pull out an absolutely blinding result, and that's just the sort of side they are. They're better than Palace in mid-table, but are they pushing for anything else? Not particularly. Full credit to them. I thought they were relatively impressive. Right, West Ham 1, Villa 1. Josh, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a poor game in general to start off with. First half, and I think either side were great. For the first 15 to 20 minutes, we had all the ball. West Ham had a kick, and we definitely looked the better side. We had a couple of half chances. Ali Watkins forcing a good save with the keeper. Rodgers had opened up for him a few times. Areola made comfortable saves. But then about 10 minutes before you scored, we could see it coming. Started making silly mistakes, playing out from the back. Pau Torres and Lenglet both give it away a few times. I think he got it wrong from the start, which is what I will say. He had Konza right back again and left Torres and Lenglet in, 2 left footers in, which, when you're playing against a unit like Antonio, I just don't think that they're sort of 2 similar type of players where they're both ball players, not natural, just proper centre-halves. He had one up against Antonio and he sort of bullied them. Which, to be fair, he's seen now at half time and took Lenglet off, moved Konza back into the middle and brought Matty Cash on, who definitely changed the game. But no, first half, I thought once you scored, it swung down and we were awful. We just couldn't keep hold of the ball. The 2 in the middle of the park were just getting completely out-muscled. You could tell we missed McGinn's energy, and I never thought the 2 in the midfield was going to work. But Emery seen the danger at half time. He took Lenglet off, Cash and Diarry on. Can't remember who else went off. Might have been Rodgers. But yeah, they definitely changed the game. We come on to the second half looking a lot better. The disallowed goal, the first one, I haven't seen it back since I've seen it yesterday. But Antonio, it does look like it hits his arm and goes in. I think it was fair enough at the end, although again the amount of time it took was just pathetic. And we do look, I've said it for weeks, we look vulnerable from set pieces. We used to be all right at defending them. First half of the season, the high line, we'd always catch teams offside. Now we're just getting really we are being caused major problems from set pieces, and it needs to be cut out because every goal we can see at the moment feels like it's from a set piece. So yeah, we definitely need to cut that out again. As I think I mentioned it last week, that we've conceded 35% of our goals either side of half time, either just before or just after. And again, we just switched off, and we need to cut that out because it's happened so much. We must just switch off at the start of the second half, and it's not good. And then apart from that, for the second half, we controlled the game, didn't exactly do much with it. Thought it was better, it was slightly more urgent, but still I thought it was far too slow. Zaniolo coming on changed things a bit. Obviously got the goal, shushed his own fans, which I'm not quite sure about that, but he has been getting quite a bit of stick. I don't know if he thought got mixed up for Villa fans or West Ham fans because Carlton Brewer, I don't know. But yeah, I think he's been getting quite a bit of stick lately. And then I nearly get himself sent off after that as well. I get his gamely yellow card. And then he had a great chance to win it just before. We got another disallowed goal where Matty Cash puts his body on the line, makes a ridiculous block. It's probably one of the tackles of the season, to be honest, because he saved a certain goal. I think it was Ward-Prowse who hit the shot. And then as for the last one, I think they said it's the longest time they've ever took checking a goal with VAR. For me, I think it might be a bit biased, but I think it was rightly disallowed because it's not Bowen on balls. I think it was Souček, the one before, and it looks like it changes the direction which the ball's going. It hits his hand and he saw it on the floor. Doesn't know much about it. I don't think he means it, but either way, it definitely changes the direction which the ball's going in, and it sort of spins it towards who was it? He scored in Bowen. I think it might have been. And I think the ball is going in a different direction if it doesn't hit his arm. But either way, I just think, what was it, 6 minutes? I just think that's ridiculous, and it can't be that clear and obvious. I do think the goal was rightly disallowed, but it shouldn't take that long. And they keep saying VAR was brought in with clear and obvious headers. 6 minutes, it's just it slows all momentum down of the game as well. Even if they do add 6 minutes on after that, you've just been standing doing nothing for 6 minutes. So it's like, well, it's going to take time for the intensity of the games to get back up to what it was. So it's just, it's getting worse every week, to be honest. Although I thought the two decisions, they come to the right decision in the end. It should it take that long? Absolutely not. And to be honest, I'd rather them just give the goal than it take that long because it's just ruining the game.
You won't be saying that if you miss out on Champions League by a point at the end of the season, Josh. I guarantee you that. Yeah, look, I think that's a fair assessment. Look, the game was a game of two halves. It's the biggest cliche you can stick on it. I thought Villa, I tweeted it in the immediate aftermath. I thought Villa were really poor in that first half. The amount of times that you passed the work from the back straight into the path of Alvarez and straight back to us. I was baffled, and we got the one goal, and I was happy about that, and I thought we deserved that in the first half. But there was just a lot of people around us that was urging us to go on because I could smell blood because Villa were really not very good in that first half. And if we, I think we should have pushed on and tried to get that second. And we did have the second in the first half. It's something that hasn't been massively talked about. The one at the end has been what's, caught everybody's mind. But Kudus had the ball in the back of the net. It's a brilliant finish. And there's a foul on Emi Martinez in there. Look, we've talked about keepers before, whether they're protected or not. That's not a foul anywhere else on the pitch. It's not even, fouls were given. Listen, I thought the ref let the game go to an extent yesterday, and then he gave a foul when Antonio literally stood his ground and didn't even lean into Martinez one bit. I thought that was baffling, and the referee blew up about 4 seconds after Antonio walked away. So just as Kudus was striking it, he blew up, which was just utterly bizarre. I think the Antonio one's harsh, but I think, I understand why. And, the Villa fans have come back with the one with Emerson. Now we're getting to a stage now where he's pointing. You can see he's pointing at a defender to move and mark a man. He's retracting his arm away, and there's nobody where he's kicking the ball. So I don't know. So if Emerson's arm wouldn't have been there, he's kicking the ball straight out. So he was quite clearly kicking the ball to try and provoke a penalty out of Emerson, which is where we're getting with this handball rule, unfortunately. And look, for the naked eye and for the average football fan, you look at it and go, flipping out his arms like that, it's a penalty. But I don't know. And listen,
I don't think it was a penalty, but I've seen them given before. Like, I don't think it's
they've been given. Yeah, they've been given.
Yeah, but it's sort of identical to, do you remember that one, the Merseyside derby, the start of the year, when Michael Keane, he come off the bench and he sort of just, he tried to put his arms behind the back, he couldn't really move them out the way, but it just hits his arm, and that got given. It's just, I don't think that's a penalty, but it's just, there's no consistency, we know that by now, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, and just to tackle the last one, look, I think it's massively lacking common sense there. There is quite a lot going on in that incident. Just blow up and just give the foul, for God's sake. Like, and it stops all the handball controversy. Souček's pulling the defender's shirt and it looks like a foul. Just give the foul and just stop all the handball controversy. Because look, there is no clear and obvious, because of and once again, we've talked about camera angles before. That camera angle doesn't help at all. The post is in the way. Just give the foul, for God's sake. You could do that in 30 seconds. Everyone could see that's a foul in the box. I think it was Konza as well. I'm not entirely sure. Souček leans into him, pulls his shirt and gets the other side of him. Just say that's a foul and just prevent all of the handball nonsense. It's not difficult, and then we wouldn't have been.
No one knows what's going on. Like,
no, and to be fair, we were walking back to the station as it was going on. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Nobody in the stadium knew what was going on. 5 minutes. 5 minutes and 37 seconds.
Even nobody at home knows what's going on, because on the one I was watching, the commentators, they said about a minute before they sent the ref over to the screen, he went, and this isn't going to be good news for the West Ham fans. And he went, the goal's been disallowed. And anyway, about a minute later, he's gone to the monitor and he's going, oh, actually, he's going to the monitor. So, like, what's going on? I know usually when they go to the monitor, that usually means it's disallowed most of the time. But it's like, still, like, just no one seems to have a clue what's going on. I just wish they just give you a bit more of an input on, like, what's actually happening, because everyone's just standing there not knowing what's going on for 6 minutes. Like,
it's ridiculous.
It's a joke, really.
And look, I do understand they've got to come to the right decision. And if they've had that one camera angle, then for goodness sake, is there not a better camera angle? We've discussed that at length before. The camera angle is useless because the post is in the way and it's obstructing the view of whether it's both of them handball on Souček and Bowen. It looks like it hit Souček's arm, but we don't see for certain because the post is in the way and it's slightly obstructed. Look, I understand why it was disallowed. I'd be screaming for it to be disallowed if it was the other way. But did it really need to take that long? Absolutely not. Just blow up for the foul and just say it was a foul in the build-up. It's really not difficult. Longest VAR in Premier League history. Add that to the cabinet. And in the end, look, I'd have taken a point before the game. I just felt a little bit disappointed and it felt like a loss walking out of the stadium, if I'm totally honest with you. Listen, we had the ball in the net 4 times and for only one of them to count is slightly frustrating. We took our foot off the gas in the second half, and I thought the subs were a little bit bizarre. Villa grew into the game. Matty Cash was the sort of shift. He came on and changed things. I thought just gave Villa an outlet and a bit of energy on that side. So I think he massively changed it. And in the end, Villa were value for a point, and I think we were as well. So probably the fair result, but obviously overshadowed with everything that's gone on. I've seen you smirking in the background, Sean. I'm sure you've got something to say. So finish the show off, Sean, with a couple of thoughts.
I've got 2 thoughts for this, and I'm going to encourage you, I've said this a few times, to be the modern, forward-thinking football fan, Jake, okay? Because in the last 2 weeks, you probably had 3, which some West Ham fans might think are harsh handball decisions go against you, okay? But then one of my pet hates, I see people, we're shafted by VAR again, the ref's done us. I've seen a few videos, the ref's chucks under the bus. Follow the laws. All 3 of the decisions have been correct in the last. One was in Europe, one was in the league game before, and yesterday. Follow the laws. So VAR isn't doing anything wrong with making the decision because it's coming to get the right decisions. I think it followed the law correct in all of them. You've been unlucky; it's gone against you, but they've been correct. So you just got to accept the bad luck. Really, I'm going to be honest, and it might be controversial to a few people. I don't think it's a bad thing how long that decision took yesterday. If you dissect it a little bit, okay.
But just give the foul. It's not difficult.
They can't because it was a goal. So they've got to go for a particular order. First of all, they've got to check the offside. but this process might be wrong, okay? But all we can do at the moment is go with what we've got. They've got to check the offside, okay? West Ham have put the ball in the nets and need to check whether that was a legal goal. Because 2 people handballed it, possibly, probably, they've got to check both of those. Do you know what I mean? So if you think a minute for each of those, that's 3 minutes. I heard that Dermot Gallagher, the ref, say he heard VAR say this could take a while. It was a mess, okay? So that's 3 minutes, okay? So then they've decided that's probably took a couple of looks, that's 3 minutes. As Josh just said, it probably takes a minute for them to say the ref to go and have a look. That's 4 minutes, okay? Bear in mind as well, it's borderline the last kick of the game, okay? Nothing else is probably going to happen in that football match after that. That will be the final action of the game. So when you've got at least 3 things to check, you're chatting to the ref, he's got to go over to the monitor. If that's, maybe it went a minute over, but what's a minute? Do you know what I mean? Probably takes a minute for them to talk to each other on the mics anyway. But when it's that important, okay, it's a big Premier League game. It's the last moment of the match. I think you're going to take a little bit longer. Not many decisions this season have they had to look at 2 or 3 separate incidences in one congested box. You know what I mean? As you said, the cameras are always junk. Do you know what I mean? The fact they're junk, they probably had to look at it more times to try and zoom in, blur it around the post, through the net. So I don't think it's a bad thing in the 97th minute just to take an extra minute to look at it. You admit yourself, it was probably the right decision. At the end of the day, whether you like VAR or not, you kind of got to praise VAR. I'm not a fan of VAR, but when something like this happens, when it is a complete mess and they come to the right decision, I don't think it's a massively bad thing for the game that happened, really. Because, look, West Ham, you might sneak a Europa spot again in the league this year. It's a bigger goal for Villa. Do you know what I mean? Like, trust me.
But I think the issue with the time element of it is that all of us here could probably make a decision looking at it 3 times, 4 tops. I'm going to say that when they slow it down and when you can look at it, I reckon all of us here could make the decision that we think is correct. So after reading all the laws, etc., I reckon we could make a decision after looking at it 4 times. I think the amount of times, and listen, I'm not just taking this incident alone. I think as a whole, they look at these things far too much. They slow it down and they look at it far too much. And they keep harping on about this clear and obvious, which I think is a ridiculous and really broad sort of mantra to go with. But that's what they've gone with from the very start with VAR. You know, they harped on at the start and they went, we want to give the attacking team the benefit of the doubt. We want to make sure it's only clear and obvious. We don't want to re-ref the game. And when you've got the referee stood in the middle for 5.5 minutes, and to be fair, I don't think there was that many people left in there, certainly in the West Ham end, because most were heading back to the station and had enough of it by then. But again, you could say clear and obvious, and if it's taking 5.5 minutes, it's not clear and obvious. The referee gave the goal. They've got to look at it like that. At the end of the day, I reckon us 3 could have made the decision looking at it four times a minute tops, and that's how it should be. And it should, you know, because they are re-reffing the game in that sense with these decisions where they slow it down with tackles as well. If you can't make your mind up after looking at a tackle 3 times, then don't affect it. Don't make a judgment.
Obvious then, is it? If you can't make your mind up after 3 times, it's not clear and obvious. And it just seems to be like it's not really the referee's decision. At the end of the day, it's the referee. It should be his decision. Like the ref to stand in the centre circle for 6 minutes while they just have a chat about it, and then just for him to look at the monitor for, let's say, have about a 5-second glance at the monitor, nod his head, and then turn away and give the goal. It's just like the refs, they don't have as much power as they used to, and it's just like,
and they're frightened from the referee to the VARs. They are frightened to make the wrong decision. This season has been an absolute abomination for refereeing decisions.
They've improved a lot lately, though. It has improved the hell. What I will say about you saying us 3 could make a decision after watching it 2-3 times, I suspect you've seen the view inside of VAR. They've got about 8 monitors. So it is probably a little bit too chaotic in there. They obviously see a lot more different angles. They got to deal with all the controls, all that malarkey. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's as bad as what a lot are thinking. The decision but imagine if it went the other way. Imagine if they looked for a 1.5-minute goal. All we'd be seeing on the telly today is West Ham got a winner of a handball. How did VAR miss it? So It did take a bit too long, only a little bit because they had a lot to look at, but they come to the right decision. If they took 2-3 minutes and allowed the goal, and today everyone's seen it's the wrong decision, which is the better of the two? Do you know what I mean?
But then once again, it's down to speculation. Look, we all think. Now, listen, I think he's handled it, but they at the time didn't know for sure. And you listen to Dermot Gallagher today, and he even said it with the Kudus goal. Which, listen, I'm more annoyed about that than I am this one. And the Sky Sports geezer on there said, so if the referee hadn't have blown the whistle just before Kudus put it in the back of the net, would that have then been pulled back? And he went, well, I don't know. He said, we won't ever know. Because he likes protecting his mates on there. There's no doubt about it.
But the fans that are probably blaming for the ref for that one have probably got a fair point, because maybe the ref should delay it.
And Sean, Sean and Josh, I think everyone should go and watch that clip, because Antonio's foul on the keeper, Martinez, he blew up about 4 seconds afterward. Antonio would ran back to stay onside. Kudus hit the shot, and then he blew up for the consequential foul that was about 4 or 5 seconds before. Listen, I think the referee had plenty to do, and of course he's going to come under the spotlight. And a couple of people who went, that's the same referee that's the same VAR who did us away with that late winner at Chelsea 2 years ago. But that's a story for another day. We'll leave it there.
Can I just say, Jake, to any of your half-wit West Ham fans who don't quite get this, so I'm very sort of black and white when I say things. I cheered the West Ham goal. It's been a great week for Tottenham from West Ham. You helped Tottenham out, and possibly Villa and United with the Europa League thing in the week, beating Freiburg, pushed England up into second place in the points table for getting a 5th spot. And it'd have been a great result points probably a good result for Tottenham, but if you beat Villa, Tottenham fans are even doing pictures all over. We're all bubble team today, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? It'd have been a great result if West Ham would have won. So
my next sort of debate is a bit redundant, because I was going to go, top 4, who's going to finish? But now because of our fantastic European success, it looks like you're both going to get Champions League, so you're welcome in that sense. But look, just the final thing I want to discuss is the FA Cup that happened this weekend. I don't want to talk about Man City winning again or Chelsea beating Leicester, because let's talk about Coventry for a second. Fantastic, and I think it's reignited the magic of the FA Cup once again. A fantastic spectacle. Clive Tilsley on commentary, everything about it just felt FA Cup, and I think it just restored a bit of faith back in the competition. Josh, I thought it was fantastic to see them beating Wolves.
Yeah, I was very happy to see it when Wolves thought they'd won. He was singing Que Sera, and then for Coventry to get 2 in stoppage time. I think it was more than deserved as well. Second half, they had countless chances to put the game to bed at 1-0, which they didn't take. And then Wolves just used the Premier League quality at the end to nick 2, and you thought it was over. And then for them to get 2 in stoppage time, I was really happy to see it. They got Man United in the semi-finals as well, so hopefully they can give them an half-decent game, although it does look like it's going to be City Man United final again, isn't it? Which is a bit boring, but no, I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sean, wrap things up.
Yeah, brilliant by Coventry. I did read that the FA Cup final is the day before the playoff final, and Coventry could be in both. So, yeah, it was.
What a weekend that'll be.
Yeah. The FA Cup, probably League Cup more so, has had its bashers for a while. I've been one of them. Yeah. So it was great to see 2 very good quarterfinals. The Chelsea-Leicester, I know it was it 4-2 in the end? Yeah. I didn't think that was a very good game at all. It was hardly a classic, even though we had all them goals. But yeah, the Wolves Coventry and the United Liverpool game, great games, great sort of last minute goals. It's all about the last minute winner in the cup, and you can't really beat that.
No, absolutely. Right, I'm going to fire through some of your comments before we do go to keep it inside the hour. Simon, the resident Chelsea fan, thanks for joining us. Leslie says it should be replaced with ex-players as the refs are the people in VAR that can't handle the pressure. I'm a little bit dubious about that. Ex-players. I mean, I think there are some very knowledgeable ex-players, but I also think some pundits. Well, exactly. Some pundits of you imagine Carragher and Neville in like the VAR, and you just couldn't envisage it, could you? But look, I I understand the sentiment. You'd have to handpick very carefully because there are some very knowledgeable ex-players, but there are also some not so knowledgeable ex-players out there as well. I don't like to name any names. Jamie O'Hara, but swiftly moving on. To be fair, Sean, I've got no idea why I say that because most Spurs fans don't like Jamie O'Hara, do they? So
I don't mind him as a character. He's just a bit extreme. I can't stand Cundy on there. He's even worse. I don't listen to TalkSport, to be honest, anymore. I give up on that a long time ago.
Leslie says, do you think the PGMOL have lost control and should they be replaced? No, I don't know whether they can be replaced. I think they're just there, aren't they? I don't think I don't know. But I think they've lost control this season. Yes, we've at times this season, and it has got better this calendar year. But we've discussed more about the decisions than we have the actual games. And listen, you could put that down to social media all you like, but it's also the refereeing decisions and the spotlight the VAR is putting on referees as well. It's not been a good season. We thought last season was bad. This season has been worse. There is no doubt about that one. What about this analogy? That referees are like my ex-wife, insecure, overly analytical, and always right. Deary me. Deary me. VAR is accepted here in France, and the VAR person is never named. That the pressure is astronomical on these VAR people and referees, and I think they've become frightened this season to make the decisions and to back themselves because of the scrutiny they have come under this season. Coventry deserved a win. Great job by Robbins. Look, they've got Man United. I see Goldbridge on there was up celebrating, saying we're going to be in the final. I think everybody, apart from Man United fans in this country, will be backing Coventry in that game. Now, listen, I backed Man United yesterday because I can't stand the Jurgen Klopp farewell tour. So I'll put my hands up there and go, look, I backed Man United yesterday, but Coventry should have the support of the nation, apart from a small section of Manchester, for that cup semi-final. And I hope they do themselves proud as well. Absolutely. O'Hara is a Muppet. He is. Right, we will leave it on that note. Josh and Sean, a little bit different tonight, but I think we've had some good debates and it's been a insightful show. So I'll see you after the international, but you've got another couple of weeks off now, see. I'll start docking your wages. Back at the end of March, we've got Newcastle. I know that much. Not sure about you two, but in heading in to the back end of the season now, Josh and Sean, thank you very much indeed for joining me. Any final words? No.
No, we're home to Luton next. No, I got no final words, mate. You just reminded me it was an international break, so yeah, it's not ideal again. I think it's just my team just not having enough football. Who are England playing anyway?
It's Brazil and Germany, isn't it?
Oh, is it Germany?
Is that two friendlies or any?
Yeah, friendlies. We got Brazil and somebody.
Because we got relegated in that Nations League, didn't we? So. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. P. Gaz, thanks for joining us. Joins late. We'll watch the replay. Have a good night. Thank you very much, everybody, for your input in the chat as well. And until the next one, we'll see you soon. We'll have a couple of shows coming up in the week discussing West Ham's situation heading into the final part of the season. But until then, come on, you Irons, and we will see you soon right here on West Unofficial. Cheers, Josh, Sean. We'll see you soon.
Yes, what up?